Hey guys, this week's tactics video is more subtle than usual. We're looking at trying to how you hedge with chaff units that have are you trying to maximize the most value for. So one of the things I wish I could find a better word for chaff, but that's the Warhammer parlance words like output, loadout, these types of phrases and some somewhat analytical phrases that have come in. Chaff is less and more funny, but I don't know if like these units are actually dying as much as we think out there anymore. One of their roles is to sort of come forward and sacrifice themselves. And in that sense, what you're trying to do is buy time. And we'll get to this abstraction later on in more detail. Patty and I are thinking about whether we sort of, after a year of this, put together sort of some of the best hits to do with what we've learned about the game. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, post below. I want to thank anyone who's supporting the channel, whether that's paid or through super thanks tips you can use below. If you're getting any value out of this channel, everything you can do to help us helps us to keep making these videos. And we are happy to keep going. So any sort of engagement with what's happening, comments at our Discord or in YouTube below helps us to just sort of decide on what to do next, really. So thanks for watching and thanks for your support. With that in mind, the terminology, I think there's three types of units in the game that you want to think about: hammers, anvils, and chaff. And chaff is multifaceted. So generally what chaff is doing is it's more active in the early game and probably more vulnerable to attack than other units, but obviously a lot cheaper as well. And there's a lot of nuance in that too, like how much you should be willing to throw away in points. It can quickly get out of control, especially if you're playing an army that is going to take attrition on the way in anyway. And then beyond that, what's the role of the chaff? Is it to sort of redirect? Is it going to try to do things like take out other vulnerable targets like war machines? Or is it just wasting your opponent's time? So the game this week, this is our first game with the new rules. It's the city-state of Nuln versus High Elves. And even though the game ends, well, I won't spoil that. You can watch, that'll be out next week. This is the first turn. I'm a huge fan of Outriders. I was playing High Elves, but Mike, my opponent, the podfather of the channel, the Oracle, he is running City State of Nuln. He has two units of Outriders that he's vanguarded out. So on this is coming from the right flank. So if you look at this image on the right, you can see the other unit on the left. They've just obliterated a unit of Silver Helms of mine. But this unit on the right that's lost a guy has moved forward on his turn very carefully to position. So you can see that at the start of the turn on the top left, I have marched my Phoenix Guard right up. My Phoenix Guard, Dragon, Griffin, probably even the Dragon Princes all have a line of sight to these Outriders at the moment. So it's giving me a lot of options. You can imagine I probably want to charge it with the Phoenix Guard. Mike moves them in a way that I thought was quite clever. So what he does is he moves them in a way here so they're out of the arc of all of those units. So nothing there is going to be able to charge them. And on top of that, he moves them close enough to my Loth and Seaguard unit that if I want to continue to advance, I'm going to have to charge them. So in the moment, I thought, oh, this is pretty good. And he's essentially hedged with all these options. So Outriders are great shots. They contribute here to whittling down this unit. So I started with 17 Phoenix Guard. I've got 10 left at the end of this phase, maybe even less, I think, when everyone else is done shooting. But they do what they're there to do and shoot this unit. So that's one thing, take out vulnerable targets. On top of that, Justice, like, I'm probably not going to charge them with anything besides the Phoenix Guard. There's better targets, but just gives me no option there. And then the result for my Sea Guard are that if I charge, I am going to lose my ability to cast spells. So that's a big deal. Like while charging, I want to advance with my Sea Guard in support of the other units. I have Drain Magic up. He has a Sorcerer here in the top right corner and here. So the closer I can get to them, the more I'm pushing them out. They're only level ones. My guys are level three, so that 24-inch range really oppresses what they could do. They were built to cast the summoning at +2. So I have to think about it for a while. I won't be able to cast Walk Between Worlds in the conveyance phase if I declare a charge because I've charged. And then on top of that, he has Fire and Fleet anyway. So what's going to happen is they'll just run backwards. I'm unlikely to be able to close that gap. They have Swift Stride. They'll get away, and then you would assume Rally, the General's Leadership 10 is around here, or even if they don't rally or not, you've got a good bet that they will later on. Once they rally, they're going to be able to shoot again with just at -1. So very clever. You can see that gap. It really highlights the different roles of a unit like this. So that positioning, so the positioning relative to charge arcs of your opponent is very big, so that I can't get into combat with them. They move 8, so they can just swan around, get behind lines, and unless you've got 360 or some other form of charge like random movement, you're not going to be able to get in on them. And then beyond that, position in a way that, yeah, there's some risk there with the Sea Guard that I could do something about it, but I can't. And if I had been brought out of position, I ended up having to I just cast Walk Between Worlds. I ended up shooting them and got quite lucky. I only had 10 shots, but killed 3 of them, which I think was a bit of a spike on the dice. I guess 5 plus to hit, two, is going to give you 5, 2.5 wounds. I should maybe kill 1, 1.5, but I kill 3, and that sort of ends that threat. But it did keep my Sea Guard unit back further than I'd like. And I think a unit of Outriders has got to come under 100 points for the champ plus them. In Nuln, you can take 2 units in core, or at 2,000 points, 2 units in core. I think just looking at it, there's a lot of subtlety in using these units well. And while they died, they bought some time for Mike to be able to get into a better position and keep his sorcerers active. And on top of that, they contributed to this whittling down of the Phoenix Guard, which I was able to roll quite luckily as well later on and maintain those points, but it wouldn't have taken a lot more to get 50% of the points from that unit as well. So I'm going to call it hedging. I think that getting the most out of units, even the ones that die, is so obviously the key to winning, the more efficient you can be. But I think within each role, hammer, chaff, anvil, there's a lot of subtlety to how you can do well with those units. And we'll probably continue to use that terminology as we build more of these tactics into the channel. So I think a great one to watch. Thank you for being part of it. Again, if you can support us, let us know.